When I say the word science, what do you think of? You might think of experiments, photosynthesis, animals, and space. What if I say science in school? Before taking EDT 182, I would have thought about how I had tests, memorized diagrams, and element numbers, and how I got my answers from closely reading textbooks. Science has never been a strong subject for myself. I was always confused, but I still got good grades in school because I memorized the right answers that were for the tests. I was able to make flashcards from class lectures and textbook readings and not question about the content very much. I remember a time in ninth grade when my class was learning about atoms and my teacher told the class atoms are so small that we've never seen them with our eyes. I thought to myself, how do we know this is what an atom looks like and does if we've never actually seen it? I then asked my teacher this question and she told me we just know. After hearing that response multiple times, I learned to accept the information I was being fed by my teachers. As long as I memorized the information for a test and got a good grade, there was no point in trying to question what I was learning, right? This semester, I've learned how damaging that mindset was for me. I've learned so much more this semester about what science is and is not than I have all throughout my elementary, middle, and high school educational years.
I have learned how important it is to accept that science is open to change. Schools teach students that there is one correct answer, and to pass a test, you must know them. Science is not about being correct, it's about being open to the possibility of change, and knowing that nothing will ever be 100% correct. A picture box activity in my EDT 182 class showed me how science is open to change. I was shown little bits of a picture, and as more of the picture was revealed, I would change my answer as to what I thought was being depicted. This is just like scientists getting more evidence. The more evidence you receive, the better understanding you will have. This activity made me think about the layers of the earth. In school, like every other student, I was taught that there's a crust, mantle, outer core, and inner core. I never questioned whether this was correct. But now I wonder how people created this diagram of something that no one has ever actually seen. The Kola Super Deep Hole is the largest hole in the ground created by scientists. They didn't even get 1% into the ground. But even though they haven't gotten far into the earth, we teach students that there's an absolute answer, and to be correct, you need to know the layers of the earth and their order. This is just one example of how schools are promoting memorization and not teaching the importance of critical thinking. As a future teacher, I do not want my students to go down the same path of memorization like me. When I watched a clip from the movie Pocahontas, the quote, "You can't step into the same river twice," stood out to me. The whole world is always changing, and as an educator, I cannot teach my students to the test. I need to foster their ability to wonder and question about the world around them. Pocahontas could have chosen to go down the smooth river like I did through school, but she courageously chose the bumpy path which allowed her to experience new things. Science is a search for understanding, not going with what the authority figure like a teacher or textbook feeds you. EDT 182 taught me the importance of being curious and dedicated enough to a topic to do outside research and learn as much as I can about it. To think like a scientist, I notice I absolutely cannot simply just take in information. I need to start with a topic, do research, observe, and grow my knowledge. This is just like the upside-down pyramid. I am starting with a certain topic, and the more I notice, the more my pyramid will grow. George Daly said that scientists do not find everything at once. The more you know, the more your pyramid will grow. I now see that projects like Science Fair made me think in this way. Science Fair allowed me as a student and scientist to research something I was passionate about, and I wasn't tied down to going to class and being forced to read a textbook and memorize a correct answer for a test. I was given the ability and freedom to be creative, curious, and ask questions about a topic I was uncertain about. I noticed that the pyramid should have a bumpy edge and not smooth because scientists are always taking steps forward and backwards. Nothing is ever smooth. This made me think about the dinosaur cartoon we saw in my EDT 182 class. Scientists were given a few bones, yet they made an entire dinosaur skeleton. Scientists, unlike many teachers, will admit that they do not know if they're right, they are just giving their best guess. Science is not absolute, it is based on evidence, and scientists are giving their best guesses based on the evidence they have. My students will know that questions are great, and nothing we learn about is 100% correct. Students will know that people are always searching for understanding, and questions are what drive science. Science is not right and wrong. With the more evidence you have, you will be able to come up with your best prediction. This semester, I've also realized how flexible science is. There's not one correct answer like many teachers tell their students. Based on the elephant poem by John Godfrey Sachs, it leads me to think about how students need to learn the importance of collaboration and the flexibility in the scientific world. Each of the men think they are right, which in my eyes symbolizes teachers teaching the students the correct answers. If the men in the story would open their minds and listen to each other, they would have more evidence and their opinions would change as to what they thought they were touching. This makes me think of how science is like a puzzle. Each of the men have a piece of the puzzle and they need to collaborate and add pieces to their puzzles to come up with a better understanding. I want my students to realize the importance of working with others and gathering information. Just because one person says something is right doesn't mean it is. New evidence calls for an evaluation to create a better understanding for a topic, which leaves science with a new best guess. My students need to realize that if they think they know everything, they will not be open to other perspectives. During my time in EDT 182, it took a lot out of me to get used to being a critical thinker and being curious about the world around me. The first day of class made me really weary about how well I was going to do with this type of learning and teaching. What made me realize I was being a curious scientist was the Moon Project, because I realized how much questioning can go on when I just take the time and analyze my surroundings. I've experienced the moon for 19 years, and for the 1 month I had this project, I questioned more in that month than my whole life. My biggest wonder was when one night I saw a ring around the moon. So, like a scientist, I asked questions and had the dedication to find an answer. I learned that this ring appears when the moon's light is passing through thin clouds of ice crystals. Instead of just taking the answer and accepting it, I realized that this is just the scientist's best guess. Like in the dinosaur cartoon. I understood that I need to be open to this answer changing when more evidence comes along and a new prediction is made. Before this class, I would have read that answer and never questioned or looked back. Now I'm curious to how this answer will change in the future.
Thinking like a scientist is used in any aspect in life. It's hard to practice this way of learning, but it's extremely helpful. If somebody asked me what science in school was after taking this course, I would tell them that it's always changing, it's about being curious, questions drive it, and there's never a correct answer. I have learned to question the simplest of things going on around me in the world and to never accept the answer that has been fed to me. My future students will learn the importance of questions, and they will be free to think in my classroom and in their everyday lives. Students need to be encouraged to question the status quo of the school system. I will not hover over them and make them repeat back to me information I got from their textbooks. I will explain to them what science is, and it's always changing, and nothing is 100% certain. With more evidence that scientists have, they'll make their best guesses. Curiosity is very important, and I will do whatever I can to keep this alive in each and every student who comes through my classroom.